Somebody pass around the offering. Since I'm always preaching on track, you feel me? I'm not gonna get paid for it. Sermon of the day. You right where you supposed to be, baby. Informants, that information for me. Important you get a portion of fortune pouring. Confession, fortunately, blessings on now they snoring. You mellow, so focus on scoring. Got you underperforming. I never expect something, never assume nothing. Judging me for my past, but that's why I'm triumphant. I don't demand, I know where I stand like engineer hands. Watch how my life pans. Cut that game plan. Show out like a jotter, pop out like a cutter. Telling the quick rock, skipping the country squares like hopscotch. This gonna be my mood to my beat drop. Putting my boogie shoes in my diddy boots. Ain't no stop. I'ma make the rest of my life live. Yeah, I'ma make the rest of my life live. Gonna make the rest of my life the best of my life. Yeah, I'ma make the rest of my life live. I'ma make the rest of my life live. Gonna make the rest of my life the best of my life. Congratulations on the celebration. I know I'm dope without a need of a validation. No congratulations on no celebration. I know I'm dope without a need of a validation. Yeah. If having hope is dangerous, call me Evil Knievel. You leading on the wrong side, living with peasant needles. So lethal, made Shane Black wanna write a sequel. Cause I snuggle my dreams till it's seen as illegal.
Happy Thursday, everybody. How you guys doing tonight? I hope everyone is doing well. You know how we do. Let's start off with liking, subscribing, and sharing as always. It is my favorite day of the week. Why? Because I get to spend that time with you, and you. That's right. I have waited all week long just to get back to this space, my favorite place. And so I'm glad about it. And I hope you are too. So again, tonight, let's like, subscribe, and share. Welcome to the Bravo with Sheila Network. I'm doing just what I asked you to do. I'm going to take this quick minute and make sure that I am sharing on all social media so that we can get some good people in on this good conversation. And we're going to have a good talk tonight. All right. See, I'm doing my due diligence. There we go. Like, subscribe, and share. And we appreciate you. Welcome to Thursday night with me, your girl, Lady Dawn V, here on the best network ever in these YouTube streets. That's the Bravo with Sheila Network. We want to say thank you for joining us tonight. As always, you have been amazing. And I really do appreciate you taking this time to spend with us every Thursday night for the next 60 to 90. Sometimes it's a little longer moments that we have together. So I want to ask if you would be so kind. Again, like, subscribe, and share. Invite a friend to join into this good conversation. As always, we want to pay homage to the amazing curator of this space, the woman who so graciously yields me this captain's chair every Thursday night in the person of, I call her Auntie Bravo. She is the Queen Bee, Pastor Sheila Ingram, and we salute her on tonight with a bravo, saying thank you for allowing us into this space. Excuse me, y'all bear with me on tonight. My sinuses are doing their own thing, and it's doing what they do, but I'm going to do what I do. So again, welcome to those of you who are up in the expensive seats in the silent section. We again always invite you to come on down to the comment section. I promise you it is safe down here. We have security and all of that. You're in a safe space. So jump in, say hello, let us know that you're here so we can greet you properly. And while we are in that vein, I just want to give a few house rules. While the Bravo with Sheila Network, is not a Christian channel. A lot of us are Christians. We are believers. And so y'all know, as I always say, I'm a God's girl. So you're going to get some Jesus every single time you see me some way, somehow. But we say this to say that we do honor, respect, and appreciate everyone's comments, perspectives, opinions, and feelings. So we just ask that everyone would be respectful and in their expressions, and respectful in the expressions of others as we engage in conversation on tonight. Okay, let's see. But if you do want a good word, if you are looking for a little spiritual uplift, you can go right across the street. We got it all over here. Go right across the street to the Sheila Ingram Ministries Network. Go over to that channel, and we have amazing word by none other than Pastor Sheila herself. We have my mom, Pastor Rosa, who is on Tuesdays. Pastor Sheila's on she's on whenever she want to be on. She comes sharing good word, good worship, the kabod. There's always something there to encourage and lift your spirits. On Fridays at 11, I believe we have the Women of Grace, who is Pastor Sheila, Pastor Rosa, and Reverend Jitty. They come on, they share the good word, and it is an amazing time of fellowship. So again, if you need some uplifting, come on right across the street and get that good word that's going to keep you lifted, okay? But on tonight, here on this side of the street, we are going to engage in some great conversation. I believe that is all of the announcements. Sometimes I forget because I'm so excited about what we're going to talk about. On tonight, we have the squad in the house. I do not come alone. No, I do not. Tonight I come with my dear ladies from the ladies' room, and I also come with the brethren of the men's lounge for an annual moment of verses. Verses what? This is the ladies' room versus the men's lounge, a segment where we come in. The toxicity begins from the moment we announce what our topic is. Trust and believe. The fight begins before we even get to the stage. And I wish you could see the tomfoolery going on in the background. That's in the galley, but I'm going to bring them up shortly so we can engage. It is all in good love and fun. You know, on Thursday nights with Lady Dawn B. See, I'm tongue-tied, y'all. Pray for me, okay? We have real talk with real resolutions. And that's what we come to do again. Open up the gateway for conversation, for us to have great conversation so that we are able to have better relationships with each other. But most importantly, we start with the relationship with ourselves. So before I bring the crew up so that we can get into this on tonight, I want to welcome some people into the room. We see that the Psalmist Voice Radio Network is here with us tonight, and we are glad they are on. And of course, who else but the greatest moderator to ever do it in these streets and elsewhere, we have Nate Kenya is in the building. We love you, ma'am. Yes, we do, with your beautiful self. And then we also have a dear brother who you hear him maybe on Monday nights, on Monday Beyond the Mic, with my sisters, Coach Pache and Dr. Elaine, and he comes and brings good word. We got Von Eric saying blessings all. We have my sis and good friend, disciple Spencer is in the building, and we appreciate it. We see some of you others in there. Come on and say hello so we can greet you properly. Okay, so before we announce what this conversation, well, you know what? I'm going to announce what the conversation is first, and then I will bring the crew up. So on tonight, on this verses between the ladies' room and the men's lounge, our conversation topic tonight is mama's boys versus daddy's girls. Now, you know, you never know what to expect when we start getting into this type of conversations or any conversations. You never know what to expect when the whole squad is here, because the gang is all here. But I can guarantee you it's going to be good stuff. So without further ado, I want to start bringing us up so that we can get this conversation started. Want to say good evening to Michelle Roach, the distinguished Toastmaster. Thank you for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, and share. Help us to grow this network and get this good word out. So I'm going to start with, as you know, I call him 2 of 4. I am 4 of 4. We are brother and sister by love and by blood. Same mother, same father. And we are both the youngest siblings. He's the youngest male. I'm the youngest female and the youngest of them all. You know, when the parents got to me, it was like, no need to go no further. That's it. I'm here. So we got my brother, Minister Donald Brathwaite in the house. Good evening, bro. How you doing tonight?
Doing outstanding. I'm doing well. I'm doing great. No complaints. And we were not test tubes. We were not test the products before you came. Just so you know. We were not a test. It's good to see you, 4-4. It's good to hear you. It's good to see you smile. And I hope our other siblings ain't chiming in tonight. At least not till later.
So after that, right? After
Yeah.
No, I wanted to be clear. I wasn't saying that y'all were testers. I was just saying once I got here, the package was complete. They couldn't end on an odd number. They had to keep it going, make it even.
I feel you. Thank you for cleaning that up, because I was about to send out a mass text message.
See, this is why you don't have. This is why it's dangerous when you start engaging in stuff with your siblings, because stuff can go left at any time. It's not even 8:30 yet, and already the foolery has begun.
And you know me, but
no. Y'all will start.
Enjoy yourself, laugh, live, love, and laugh, and let's enjoy one another.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you for joining. And he is a member of our men's lounge. Now, on tonight, we are going to bring up next, because I'm going to bring them up in the order. Well, you know what? No, I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to bring up my fellow Ladies Room Squad member. Our nickname for each other is my kin, because we are like kin to one another. I love her dearly. She is a blessing with her whole beautiful self. She has her own channel as well. Make sure you follow her on the Ace Perspective for some good nuggets and jewels daily. And she is in the personal. That's right. I said it. My kin, the Anitra Ace Carter, is in the building. Come on up. Hey, my kin. How you doing?
You give me such a great introduction. I'm like, what's she talking about? I almost ran in like, I'm ready. How are you doing tonight? How's you doing?
I'm good. I'm getting there. I'm good and I'm getting there. And I'm getting there and I'm good. You're working it out. The sinus is trying to take hold. We aren't going to have that tonight. We're going to overcome that. Not tonight. That's not my portion tonight. Because we got to save the energy for the good fight. You know, right. So I'm glad you joined us on tonight so we can add into these great conversations that are going down today. Let's see who else we have in the building. I'm going to bring up this next brother because I see, there's a lot of this little energy going on in the back. So I'm going to let it rest for a second. I'm going to let it rest. But we have a dear brother of mine who I have come to know and love. His shares, such an amazing perspective that he brings. And I love his contributions to the conversations. We're going to try to kidnap him, make him a permanent member of the men's lounge, because I believe that somebody can learn, grow, and live off of some of the stuff he shares. So we're going to bring him up, and he is in the person of Von Erich himself. Blessings, Von Erich. Welcome on tonight. How are you?
I'm doing good. Blessings to be here. Thank God for allowing me to be around some wisdom people that share love. You should get a curtain so when you introduce people, the curtains are
I'm working on that. Because I need to make sure y'all are introduced properly. Can't be y'all dealing with some great folk here now, okay? So we appreciate you being here with us on tonight and look forward to you sharing in this conversation, dropping some nuggets. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Let's see who else we got. Oh, now I could not let the night go by without bringing up our other Ladies Room Squad member. You know her. You love her. We would not be who we are without her. She really needs no introduction. If you don't know who she is, you will know by the end of the night. But she is in the person of my sis, my girl, Dr. Indy Brown. Come on in the building. Say hello to the people. How you doing, sis?
Good evening. I'm well. A little tired, but I'm okay. I said I was I was coming, so I'm here.
All right. All
I'm
right.
here. I'm here.
It's okay. I feel you.
I need a nap.
Listen, a nap is our portion today. A nap is our portion.
The life of a business owner.
Listen, that's all right. It is all right. But we get it. We get it. And this is you and Donald. Our bond is so cute. Thank you. And yes, he is, I don't want to say nothing else to get me in trouble, but, we have a bond that's unlike, he shook his head. We do have a bond that is unique and special. I love my brother dearly. And I think we are the same person, just in male, female body 5 years apart. I think that's what had happened. They couldn't put us out at the same time because the world couldn't take two of us at the same time, or same level. So they had to separate. And last but not least, he is the lead moderator of the Men's Lounge, half of the Toxic Twins, which his toxic twin is missing on tonight. So he's going to create all of the toxicity for the both of them, I'm sure. I call him the encounter and the experience. You know him, you love him. He is the psalmist voice, aka Pastor Chris. Come on up and the people start. See, he's swinging, and then nobody. Who you fighting? What's happening? We can't hear.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Well, guess what? It's the Men's Lounge versus the Ladies' Room. So I'm tired, everybody tired, but we about to get it in, and all I gotta do is say a few little syllables to ND. She gonna get lit, and I know Ace gonna be ready because she got her pen and paper, and she gonna get lit. So we're gonna bring this whole thing lit tonight. I'm ready. I'm turned up. So let's get it. I know Minister Donald ready. Von Erich is the new squad member, so we about to take it to the bank. Let's get it. Let's go.
Make no excuses and no apologies. Y'all know what y'all are getting. You already know what you're getting. Excuse me, y'all. I tell y'all pray. Y'all pray, okay? Y'all pray. Yes, we have all had a long day, and I'm sure we are all tired. But, once we get going in this conversation, we're going to get our second wind. So thank you guys for being here tonight so we can talk and share and hopefully enlighten, add some information to some people's lives and help us to start looking at things a little differently, taking into consideration some of our actions, how we move and what we do. All right. So now that all the niceties have been taken care of, I want to say good evening to Shiva. I hope I'm saying it right. Forgive me if I am not. Thank you for joining us on tonight and coming into the room. And yes, please do like, subscribe, and share. We want to invite as many people into this space as we can to join in the conversation. And we want to encourage you to leave your comments in the comment section. We definitely want to hear from you, acknowledge them. We look forward to engagement. And we want to learn one from the other. All right. So on tonight, this topic of mama's boys and daddy's girls came up, as always, through different conversations. I was actually watching a video on YouTube, and it was a clip of a woman who was a single mom who was raising her son, and the son was basically, just to shorten it, she basically put him in the place of her man. She wasn't dating. She was a single mom. She was raising her son. She's putting him in this adult space. And the way she was raising him and catering to him, people were complaining. A lot of us get faulted. A lot of moms get blamed for coddling our sons, for treating our boys, with kid gloves, and for not letting them grow and be men. We keep them too close to us. We don't allow them to spread their wings and fly like men and develop, but we tend to baby them is basically what they're saying. I know in some cultures, sometimes the women may raise their sons not to grow up and leave the nest and become husbands, but sometimes they raise them to grow up to be men who cater to their mother first, so that when they do grow up and they do go out into the world and they engage in different relationships and they get a wife, we know here we go. Again, I know it may not be everybody, but I'm a God's girl, so you're going to get some Jesus. In the Bible, it refers to men leaving and cleaving, leaving home, leaving your mother and your father, and cleaving to your wife. Well, a lot of times, or in this culture, this day and time, a lot of people feel, some, maybe not all, so let me not even say a lot, feel that women do not raise their sons to go out and be men, but instead we raise them to be mama's boys, always catering to us not wanting them to become men and not being good husband material sometimes. And the flip side of that is when we have daddy's girls. The girls who the fathers treat as the princess, who can do no wrong, who doesn't have chores, who all she has to do is blink and bat her eyes, and she gets whatever she wants, or she just has to cry, or just ask daddy in a certain tone, can she have, and they become spoiled, and then they become spoiled adults, thinking that men are always going to treat them this way because this is how my dad treated me. Well, we want to talk about these two issues on tonight, and I want to do it in two parts. So first, I want to start from the perspective of us being parents, or have any of us experienced, or do we have people or friends that have children, or has it been us ourselves, who have raised our kids as a mama's boy or a daddy's girl, and do you think that is good or bad? And you can put it in the comment section as well. Tell us your share. Do you think you've raised your children to be a mama's boy or a daddy's girl? I'm going to start. Let's see around the room. If anybody particular wants to go first, you can. I see you, Pastor Chris, leaning in, but we know we're gonna let you sit for a second, because we already know once he gets started. So you know what? I'm gonna let Ed D go first. He's too ready. He's too ready. Come on, Andy. Share your thoughts on this topic of mama's boys and daddy's girls.
Well, I guess I don't even know why you got me on first, because I'm just cut from a different cloth, completely cut from a different cloth. That's probably why I ain't got a whole bunch of friends, because I'm cut from a different cloth. So I've raised two boys and I've raised a daughter, and I was raised by as I said before, a strong Black woman. But I also had a dad who was strong in his own right as well. So I was a daddy's girl till my father got remarried, and I no longer was the daddy's girl. But I've always been my mama's baby. So one of the things that I've seen as I've gone through my own process of maturing, because I had to grow with my children, because I divorced their father. After 11 years of marriage. So I still had babies. So I had to raise my sons and my daughters. And one of the things that I realized is I did not want my children to be repeat offenders of the mistakes that I had made as with their father. The things I had seen my parents go through, and even witnessing my grandparents. So I had some reference points that I did not want my kids to endure. So I raised my sons to be self-sufficient. So I taught them how to cook. I taught them how to clean. I taught them how to be independent. I've also had to learn how to grow with them as they evolve from babies to young men to now men and now fathers. I've had to change the didactics of how I showed up for them. And one of the things that I've had to learn was that I had I think I said in a previous podcast that I could show my sons how to love a woman, but I couldn't teach them how to be a man. So I unfortunately had to rely on the tools that may have been available to me, which were very limited. I did date someone after them who was in some retrospects a man's man. So he displayed great work ethics and a couple of other things, but he just wasn't husband material. So I've had to learn, and even up into this day with my sons, I still have had to learn to change some things. So I don't think that my sons would be considered mama's boys. I think my sons respect me because they've seen me come from one space and they've seen me grow. They see me come in and was honest with them when their father had left. Like, listen, I know this is what we have, but this is what the check is and this is what we got. They've seen me struggle. They've seen me go into debt to make sure that they had what they needed, that they wasn't missing the presence of their father, even though he lived 2 blocks down from me. So I had to overcompensate in some things. And in some things, I did not do a good job of compensating well, because I now, as grown men, I've had to walk through some things with my sons. I've had to apologize about some things, and I had to explain the narrative of why things were done the way they were done in the time frame. But I've also had to say, I'm not going to apologize for what I did. I did what I did based on what I knew. Maybe it may not have been right now, but at that moment, it was right. So I believe I'm a definite exception to the rule. I raised my daughter like, I'm gonna need you. If you don't have any example, your mother is an example. From no education with 3 kids all the way up to a PhD, while I raised y'all and put y'all through school and worked a full-time job. And I did not have men rolling through my house like a revolving door. There was a boyfriend, and then when there was no boyfriend, there was no boyfriend. My kids did not get to see men coming out of my bedroom. I wasn't always saved, y'all. I ain't always know Jesus like I know him now. Okay, all right. I was playing tic-tac-toe, and sometimes I was playing spades with the Lord, and I was winning some hands, and there were some hands I was losing. Come on here, Jesus. I mean, I just want to be honest with the super saints that they still wearing dollies and cloths. No, I was playing cards with the Lord. I played cards with him on Saturday, but I went to the house of the Lord on Sunday. Right. But I think ultimately that I am an exception to the rule. I'm not perfect, but I don't think I fit any of those didactics to the extent where I am poisoned. I think that's the best way to say it. And not trainable. No, I don't want to use that word, trainable. That I can't be modified. That's the word. That I can't modify my train of thought and to show up more present for whomever he may be, or for my kids. Because one of the things I think is important is that we show our children as they become men, that they can evolve. And in that being said, collectively, and I'll be done, is that I've come across some men, because I've raised men, because I've dealt with some stuff, that I see a wounded warrior before he's coming. And I try not to wound him anymore. I just try to help him and then go on, because he's not for me. I don't have time to deal with woundedness when I'm doing some stuff, and I still have men that I'm helping to cultivate that.
Now, thank you for that share, and that's good, because you do present a different perspective in the conversation. That's kind of the meat in the middle, where you were not, like you said, you didn't raise your children to be either or. You did the best you could to raise them to be responsible and effective adults, which I think is very key. It's something that we all should be doing. But it's funny to me how, as we go along in this journey of raising our kids, doing the best that we can do, that is usually an outside voice that will come and say, oh, your son is a mama's boy, or you're raising him to be a mama's boy, or your daughter, she's spoiled, oh, she's a daddy's girl. Anything daddy wants, daddy will give her. And sometimes that is not, it's someone's perspective. It's not necessarily truth. A lot of times those comments come from, because we start labeling people these things. We start labeling children these things, and I don't think we always consider the effects that those type of titles carry or that type of label carries into adulthood. You know, you may think I spoiled my child, and your vision, your opinion of me spoiling my child is me doing the best to provide so that they have more than I had. You know, and sometimes it's because maybe I'm doing something that you can't do for your child, even in the midst of my struggle. You know, but then we have adults again who will come on and say to that child, "Oh, you're a mama's boy, you're a mama's or you're daddy's girl." You know, and you don't think about, again, that usually does not fall off, even if they don't fully understand what that means. It sticks in their head at some point. You know, you want to share?
Yeah, and as you were thinking, I think part of that statement being made is because people see a collective narrative and make it into something that they don't know based on the fact that they've not been able to identify or even witness it. So usually when we can't identify something or we don't know what it is, we label it something that makes us feel comfortable in how they gauge it and how they see it. So because you see a man who may honor and respect his mother, he now becomes a mama's boy. Or you see a woman whose father provides for her, she's a daddy's girl. But the reality of it is that I look at it in certain cases, because there's the extreme and then there is the realization. I kind of tend to take it is that if it's either one of those things, is that a mother is teaching her son how to honor and respect a woman. And because he honors and respects her, he now is a mama's boy. And if a father is taking care of his daughter, I believe that he's showing her that as a man, it is his responsibility as her father to show her how she is supposed to be treated as a woman. And I think that we take the narrative all the way to the left and all the way to the right, but don't take a moment to say, my sons respect me, they honor me as their mother. But they also don't sit here and put me on a pedestal, because in 2 seconds flat, I could bust somebody's head to the white meat and forget I know Jesus. But I'm just saying, I just think that when you said that, it just clicked. Like, I think that somebody just might say to my son, you a mama's boy. And it's not the case. He just respects his mother, where there's a certain type of fear where he reverences me, that he's not afraid of me, but he respects me. And I think that sometimes we need to understand that the words that we say and we plague on things kind of takes it far to the left. But I'm good now.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree, and I appreciate you with those shares, though, Squad. I hope y'all are taking notes, because we're going around the room. And again, I just think this conversation is so important, because we do have to start breaking these patterns and changing narratives, because a lot of us are growing up. Some men and some women, when you are labeled this as a child, or you hear this growing up, it causes you to, I want to say, kind of repress some things when you get older in your relationships, because you don't want to be perceived as this, you know. So it doesn't allow you to fully be who you are. It doesn't always allow you to fully invest in who you're with. And we're just all askew, you know, we're just all off kilter, and we need to bring it to, I want to say, an understandable place, so that we stop labeling each other with these things, and we stop putting these labels on our children, and just allowing people to raise their children to be healthy, productive people who can express, as ND said, you know, that honor of your mother, or that respect to your father, without having to be feared of, you know, I don't want to date this person, because if they see the closeness between me and my mom, oh, they're going to think that I'm a mama's boy because I run every time, or I check on my mom. You know, I'm concerned, or I honor what my father says. You know, so thank you for those comments. Hey, Bishop Claiborne is in the house. Thank you for stopping by. It's good to see you tonight. All right, come on, Von Eric, jump into this good conversation. Pastor Chris He's already starting. He said, "Wipe me to go to the Lord, Dr. ND." So I'm thinking it's Shondo. Come on, Monarch. Tell us your thoughts on the mama's boy, daddy's girl perspective.
Thank you. That was wisdom what Dr. D said. Much love on that. Me, I'm a mama's boy. Me and my mom has a bond.
Define actually, since you said you are a mama's boy, define what that means for you.
Mama's boy for me is when you come out your mother's womb, you could spiritually be connected with your mom or spiritually be connected with your dad. Me, I was spiritually connected with my mom when I was a baby. I tell you a short story. When my mom was young, they took me away because they thought she was too young to take care of me. So when they put me in a foster home, I wouldn't eat, and they had to call her to come and feed me. So when she fed me, as soon as she stopped feeding me, as soon as she left, the door shut, I started crying. So when they went to court and we went in front of the judge, the doctor said, if you take the son away from his mother, he will be dead in 6 months. And ever since then, me and my mom, we always have a special bond. I believe some people, when they raise their children, it depends on the mother and the father. Depends on how they was raised. As Dr. D said, she learned as she was raising her child, but it also depends on how your mother raised you or how your father raised you, and the things that you went through, trauma that you went through as a child. And then when you receive your child, sometimes you don't want what you went through your child to go through. So you cling close to him because you don't want his heart to feel what you went through when you was raised. I think that as time goes on, and when you raise your child, some of your child likeness that's in you is also in your child, coming from the mother or coming from the father. And that likeness that's in your child is bonded with you because it never leaves you and it stays within your child. And I think sometimes when people, Dr. D said, when people see other things and look at it a certain way, they make a judgmental because they wasn't raised that way or they don't know that way. So they automatically judge in a way of what they know.
Right.
And they think what they know is what it is. And it's not. Because judgment can be judged in many different ways. People are raised differently, and some people are raised the same. So when I see someone raising their child and I see a child clings to their mother, I think that's a special bond, or cling to that father. I think that's special. Even if a woman clings to her father, that is special because she knows within her the spirit of a man. And I think that's also when you're close to your mom, you know your mom is a woman. She's going to teach you what other women knows and do. And that's what I did when I used to sit before I went to school or before I went to work every morning. I used to sit and have conversation with my mom. She used to tell me what women like, what women want, what women to do, women who's deceiving, things like that. So I would know and make a judgment and then act accordingly. And she told me things that she went through with men, what men did, what she has done. And I've learned, and then I act accordingly of what I've been taught. I think it all depends on the person, who they are, how they was raised, and what they learned throughout their life when they raised their child.
No, that was good. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for sharing your story, because you do bring up another perspective as you were talking. You referenced the spiritual connection or bond that you develop, like you said, with one of your parents, or you may do so in different ways with both of them. But you made the point of the clinging or the bonding, and how many times have we seen a boy maybe clinging to his mother's leg, and people are like, boy, let your mama go, or pulling them off. But, you continue to let him then hold on to you like that, he gonna go grow up to be, a girl. I don't want to say the wrong words. I don't want to be offensive to anyone, But a lot of times we, it's the beginning of that mindset that we are now ripping them away from their place of comfort at ages, and again, labeling them as a mama's boy, and you ain't gonna be up on your mother for the rest of your life, at a time when that clinging and that bonding is important, and people are pulling them away and making that bonding feel like they're doing something wrong, which I think then lends to us becoming undeveloped or developing incorrectly. Because that first connection that you have is usually with your mom or your dad. That's where you learn how to connect with a male or a female. In a general sense, is through that bonding that you have with your mother and your father. But so often, and I see this happen with boys with their mothers more so than girls with their dads. You allow a girl to cling to her dad, and you may say she's spoiled later on down the line, or you're going to spoil her, but it is so much more harmful, I feel, when we see boys clinging to their mothers for whatever they need. And usually the men are the ones who are pulling them off of the mother, and breaking that bond so that they don't grow up to be, again, a mama's boy. But on the way you explain it from that perspective, I don't think there's anything wrong with being a mama's boy or a daddy's girl, as long as it doesn't stifle your growth, as long as it's not unhealthy, but
I think
everyone is entitled. Go ahead.
I think, like, for instance, Lamar Jackson's mother, she negotiated his NFL contract, and people was discouraging it because they was like, his mom, what is his mom doing in his life? Why is his mom is doing this? And she explained, after the dad died, I took the mantle. I made sure he went to practice. I gave him the right food. I carried him for 9 months. When I negotiated his contract when he went to college, and they tried to not let him play quarterback, I called him. I said, you don't want me to come up there. Have you in the contract? You don't want me to come, because if I come up there, I'm going to take him out. It was like, no. No, Miss Jackson, no. Go. We're going to allow him to be a quarterback. So when he went to the NFL, you see him everywhere, interviews. Oh no, she's negotiating. What is she doing? Negotiating. He should be an agent. She said, listen, why would I put my son's money in someone else's hands when I've been raising him his entire life and did what I did? Why would I put something in his hands of people that did not know him, that never raised him, never talked to him? Why would I do that? And something like that, people look down on. She was out of place. She shouldn't have been an agent. She don't know anything about agent, but yet she negotiated one of the biggest contracts in NFL history of a person that doesn't know anything about being an agent. So I believe once you have that bond with your kid, daughter or son, you don't let no one come in between that, because that's a spiritual bond that no one should ever try to come in between.
I agree. And that's a great example and a great point. Who knows you better than your parent, especially when you've invested all that time and all of that encouragement into your child to see them grow. No one wants better for their child than a parent does. Yep. Come on, Anitra. Jump on in, share your perspective on this conversation. Come on, y'all, like, subscribe, and share. I hope that you are enjoying this conversation. I know it's not as toxic as we usually get. Y'all know at 8:30 something happens. So, y'all hang in there. Don't worry, it's coming. And that's why we kind of hold on Pastor Chris, because he's gonna bring all the toxicity. Him and Dr. MD already. Here we go. We've been nice tonight. Everybody a little tired. We're just kicking it off slow. We just being mellow for the moment. Don't worry. We got some time. I want Anitra to come and share, but before we do, Bishop Claiborne said sometimes you should, but that's not all the time. Sometimes you should, but not all the time. And he says, but as a parent, you have to be careful. You are doing it for the child and not your own selfish reasons. And that is true. That is true. We cannot use our kids as pawns, for our benefit. We really should be doing it into the interest of the people. And we got a super chat going on here on tonight. So thank you, Sheila Ingram Ministries Network. That's right, y'all. You can support us with a super chat, a sticker, whatever you need to do on tonight. Help us grow this network. We honor you. We gotta always pause when we have a super chat in the house on tonight. So thank you, Pastor Sheila. We love you. Come on, Anitra, and share.
All right. So good evening. I love the conversation so far. I'm a mother of 2 daughters and 1 son, and I hope my kids, I told them to get on, but I hope they're not on here because my girls say that my son is a mama's boy. And they don't like it because I call my son, I call him my favorite son. But I only have 1, so he is my favorite. But anyway, I was raised in a single parent home. My father actually was in prison when I was growing up. So for me, I was rather spoiled. So what I wanted to do was bring balance into my children's life. So as they were growing up, I did do a lot for them. I didn't show them the money factor of things. I kind of really overdid it in that area. But as far as being like a mama's boy, my son, I always wanted him to be able to talk, to be able to express himself. I didn't want him to be like men that I had seen that suppress their feelings and things of that nature. So that was a big thing. My ex-husband and I both always wanted to keep a balance. With the girls, we wanted them to know how to be treated as women. So he did do a lot for our girls. He did things like open doors and brought them like their first diamonds and did things, taught them about young men. And just like Von Eric was saying, we taught each opposite sex about the sex. So like with my son, and I'm a guy's girl too, when we talk about the Proverbs 31 woman, who was that? Whose description was that? That was his mother. That was King Lemuel's mother telling him about what a virtuous woman, a wife that he should be looking for. And as mothers, we do that. We do that to our children. I talked to my son. Now, one thing that I probably shouldn't have done that I did to my son is I told him, bring somebody home that looks like your mama. I'm gonna just leave it like that. And I won't say nothing else. Don't shake your head, Dr. Indy. Don't do that. I'm gonna be real and transparent with y'all on it.
I don't told my son, don't bring nobody home like me, because it's gonna be a whole problem. You better make sure you better have a whole personality.
Well, I said that looks like me. So if you look like me, you're gonna be. Don't look like that. Now I have to be like me in personality, but look like me. That's the political correct way to say it. But don't do that, Pastor Chris. Don't do that. I have been tell them I want them to love who they want to love, but I find that my girls are more, especially that oldest one, is more of a wise girl. She'll straight up tell her boyfriends that my daddy will get it. Now, we try to bring balance to them, but I do feel there are times that my ex with the girls, I was tougher on my girls because I always felt like being a young Black woman, being a woman, you already had 2 counts against you. So I was tougher on them when it came to raising them. And he was he was going to be the daddy that they can come to, that they can get things from, and he would take care of them, and he will always. And one thing we used to tell our children all the time was, there are some things that we can get you out of, and we will. There are some things that we can get you out of, and we will not. And there are things that we cannot get you out of, no matter what. So we always wanted them to understand when they're growing up through life, you've got to learn how to stand up as a man and stand up as a woman. And then even now, my son and I are very close. Some people might say he's a mama's boy. We're very close, but we have very, as like Von Eric, him and his mom, our conversations, he comes to me about everything, even when he's dating. And there's been times where I have to tell him, hey, that young lady, I recognize certain things about him. I'm not going to tell you to break up with her. I just want you to know, look at these characteristics. So there was a good, I think for us, there was a good balance in our home when it came to raising them. I think, honestly, all my kids are brats. At the end of the day, I think they're all brats on some level. But I don't think they're mama's boys. What I'm going to rephrase this, because listen to this conversation. It is about what your definition of mama's boy or daddy's girl is. I don't think they're either that. I think they kind of ended up with a good balance. I just think they're bratty when it comes to their parents. I think that they feel like money grows on trees. That's what it is with my kids. And they think that it grows in my backyard. But I have no trees in my backyard. So, I don't know what to tell them. But for the most part, I would say we did a pretty good job at balancing that out. The toughest thing that I've seen is that when my kids were older, when me and my ex-husband went through a divorce, which was only 4 years ago. And that was a tougher time. And my son was transitioning from a boy to a man. And I could not teach him that. I did not know how to transition him. And his dad kind of pulled away because he was leaving the marriage. So he pulled away, and it kind of left my son in a very scary place for a few years. I feel like my son is just now coming out of this place. But I had to rely on some men that I knew and trusted to try to reach out to him. I could not tell my son how to become a man. I don't know how to do that. There's nothing. I'm like, I don't know, because the thoughts and the things that he had to go through, I don't have to go through it, and I don't understand it. It's very different for me. So I did rely on strong men that I knew, basically two in particular, that I knew and that could reach out to him and that he would listen and he respected them. And it helped a lot. But even going as the kids, like now, my kids are 25, 27, and 32. And they are still growing in this thing. They are still growing in this thing. None of them are married. My oldest daughter has 2 kids and 1 on the way. And the other are refusing to have kids. And I understand that. But they're still growing up, because after the divorce, it kind of shattered their view of how things are supposed to work. So for me, the mama's boy, the daddy's girl, and I won't say that I was married to a mama's boy, but a little bit. So I know what that feels like, to always feel like you're going to do for your mother over me, or you're going to take from us to give to your mother. I never wanted my son to be like that. And I don't want my girls to get into a space where someone's treating them like that. So I always looked at things around me and tried to implement how I was raising my kids in the same. I was not perfect. I was not a perfect mother. I could be nutty as a fruitcake sometimes, but but I did try to.
I think that because of being a mom.
It does. But my son, I think it was the toughest. It was the last few years was the toughest with trying to transition him from being a boy to a man. And I would tell anybody, I do not have that qualification. It is vital. And I had many conversations with my ex-husband that it is vital for you to be there, because I cannot do this. I don't know how to do it. And then I don't even know what they're feeling. There's things that they just won't tell you. And then when there's things that my son would say to me, and I'm like, you know what I mean? I don't know how to answer that. So it is, yeah. I feel like that part, it's vital for the man. I know we've been talking about this, but it is vital for the men to be there for their sons beyond 18. That 18-year marker just drives me nuts. That is, first of all, a Western culture thing. you stop raising your kid at 18. My mama still raising me, okay? And I'm 50. But don't look like that, Dr. Indy. Don't look at me like no side.
Listen, I'm gonna say this. I thought, listen, when they say black don't cry, they ain't never lie. Cause you got a 32, I got a 32-year-old, and can't nobody not tell me I'm not fabulous. Cause I am.
They can't. Right.
And
They will not.
Cause I am.
And
I got 4 grandbabies. I am fabulous.
And
listen.
and
we're gonna second and third that one. And Pastor Chris gonna do the same. Second and third.
Listen, we gonna leave him until he, because we know what's coming. We don't know what's coming.
I think that we did a good job at balances. There was a time my ex-husband was military, and there was a time I had to actually tell my son that he was not my husband. When my ex was deployed a couple times, and when we were involved in Hurricane Katrina, had to be displaced, and he had to go back and get some things done. And my son started to like, Mom, I'm the man of the house. I'm the man. No, son.
Right.
No,
never.
I had to tell him, no, you're not the son, and you're not my husband.
Right.
So I need you to understand you're not my husband. And I did have to tell, even once me and my ex got divorced, because he was like, any man come through here, he was like, he gonna have to fight. They're gonna have to box me. And I said, well, Jay, that's not gonna work for me, because if they box you and they beat you, now I can't be with them, okay? Because you ain't gonna beat up my son. And I said, if you beat them, now I'm looking at him like, you a punk. You let my son beat you. So either way, that's not gonna work for me. We got to figure out another way for you to vet them. You can't find them.
Right.
I made sure that he understood that he was not my husband. When Daddy is gone, you are still Jay, and you do chores in the house and you do things in the house, but you are not the man of this house.
Right.
So
you gonna leave the man because he got beat up by your son? What about if he just?
Nobody doing it. Nobody listening. Look,
I can beat my son, and no matter what he tell you, I can beat him. So if you can't even beat, I'm like, you can't even.
What if he just allowed your son to beat him because he loved you?
Don't do it. Don't do it. You said
you don't do that. Eric, don't do that. Don't do that. We are black lovers.
Listen,
but that's a hard line to describe, because it is. Well, first of all, it should never get to that point. We got enough stuff to deal with in our culture.
Right.
However, because I'm gonna have to question him. I ain't gonna be mad at my son, because
I know that. I know that.
I know he can throw hands.
Right. You're not gonna be mad. I got you, but I'm just saying, Dr. D, come on now. Some people, they do things for love.
No. But the thing about it, if I know the characteristics of the man, before we should never get to that space.
Right.
However, I do know sons, because my sons was like, they would tell me like, Ma, you can't date him because you're gonna walk over him and you're gonna get bored. He's not it. Yeah. Don't do that.
He's not
no, he ain't the one for you. But I raised my kids to be not vocal, but for them to understand the role they played. They were still my sons, and I respect them. And I said to them, one day you guys are not going to be here, and I'm going to be by myself.
Right.
And what you not gonna do is that you're not going to put me in a place like that. I value your opinion, and I've always asked them what they thought as a man. Like, what do you see that your mother may not see as a woman? Because I'm raising you to be a man. So what is it about this man that you might see? So there's been a couple of suitors, and my sons be like, yo, Ma, he's a punk. Don't do it. You're going to walk all over him. And there would be some, my other son was like, yeah, he ain't it, because you going to get bored with him. He's when your kids can tell you, and they were right. I have to say that my sons didn't miss a mark. Like they were good.
If they're honest,
they know the mother. Right. They know the mother. I used to do that. Like my mom dated. I used to be like 1 week, 2 months.
Let me say this. I think when you get to that point, you have to make sure, and I know that sometimes maybe even at younger ages, because we've all been that single parent, and I've been that in that space as well. And I tell my son, just like Anitra tells her son, and then I want Donald to jump in and share, because we know Pastor Toxic is I know he got his notes, but you got to make it very clear. I made it very clear to my son, and people are like, oh, but your son. And the crazier thing about this statement is that this is what I hear from men, is that your son is the man of the house. I said, oh, he absolutely is not. He's a man of what house? What house is he the man of? Because he is not on this lease, and if he is, it's as a resident, not as primary. He did not find this place. He did not pay for this place. If I'm paying his cell phone, what are we doing? What do we? No, he is not the man of this house. He may be the man of a house, but not this one. He might be a king to someone, but in my eyes and in my house, he's a prince. You become the king when you leave of your own castle. So, we have to be very careful, again, of those spaces that we're putting them in, because this is where people come up with this thought and concept of this is, he's a mama's boy because he is telling you what you can do. Sometimes they have too much opinion in our relationship. So you have to know your kids. And I think it's beautiful that you both have that cohesive relationship with your children, especially your boys, because boys are super protective, and they will step up. My son, sometimes he starts saying stuff with his chest, and I got to check. I'll be like, okay, you talking to me with your chest? Because I'm hearing a little break, bass, vibrato, something is trebling, and I'm just wondering, because I know how to calm that storm. Like if we just, because who you talking to, right? We not the you roll with your chest, and now I'm gonna roll with mine, and we gonna see who and hit back down. They be like, no. But we do. I mean, and again, it's a beautiful space to be in and to have. Bishop Claiborne says that's right. Your son is not the man of your house. He's not, and that's where we get it wrong. We may not be able to teach them how to be men, but I will tell him, you will never be the man of this house. You got to go out and find your own. You are a man. My son is 22. He's 6'1". He's like 310. My brother said, leave his left.
Take him out at the knees.
Oh, no, you didn't worry about it. I broke it down for him the other day, and I've been doing this since he was about 14 or 16 when he got taller than me. I said, don't ever think that you can beat me, because it's not going to happen. I don't care how big you get. I understand. I said, I understand I fit in your armpit, but check this out. This is what's going to happen. Your kneecaps inside out, and then I'm going to stick my thumbs in your trachea, and I'm going to snatch your breath. I'm going to remind you why most Black moms is I brought you in this world, and I will take you out.
Listen, my son is taller than me. I just go straight for the throat because they taller than me. I go straight for your throat, and we can talk about it later.
All is fair in single parenting. That's how I see it. But
what in ham sandwiches is going on right now? Okay, I'm muting.
But Anitra, you made a very good point, Donald. I will not leave your nephew alone. That boy big, okay? He got the. I ain't scared of you, but I'm acknowledging your size. I just got to break you down differently. That's all. That's all I'm saying. Bishop Claiborne had a good question, and I want to get to Donald, and I want to get to Pastor Chris, but I do want to say, Anitra brought up a good point of balance. We have to learn how to balance the relationships with them. You brought up the point of how your daughters are a little, I don't remember if you said jealous when it comes to your son, because you said you have two daughters, but he's your favorite son. And I have, only have one child. And I was like, yeah, you my favorite child. And he's like, what does that even mean? I'm the only child you have. I said, that's why you're my favorite. I only did one. That's it. It was it. No competition. But we do have to make sure that we are balancing out those narratives even too, because sometimes with him being the only child I have, he is more clingy to me because I'm all he knows, being the single mom, And so there has to come a point of separation, because sometimes even that closeness and that bond, like Von Eric was talking about earlier, that can create unhealthy boundaries, because when you do start dating, it creates so much tension where you have to learn. It's like you have to be so delicate every step of the way and just trying to develop a relationship outside of the one with your child, so that neither party feels like they're at odds or combative with each other. You know, I'm like, you're my son, you can never be my man. To my man, you can never be my son. It's two totally different relationships. One is not better than the other. One does not cancel the other out. It's just different. You just have to know how to balance that space out. Otherwise, you will end up catering to your kids, because you'll start feeling guilty because someone will come along and say you chose that man over your child, when all you were trying to do is have a healthy relationship. I know that I've heard those comments when it is not true. Again, you trying to live beyond where you are, you know, the moment, and not just be there. Last thing I was saying, and I want Donald to come in, is Anitra made the point of it being vital to be there. Whether it's you are a single mom raising a son, or whether you're a single dad raising a girl, that other parent, their presence is so key and important. So if you are that other parent, make sure that you're integral in that child's life, more than being a weekend parent or the phone call parent or the holiday, providing that you have that kind of access. But you have to be engaged, because the man, just like we as women, we don't know. I tell my son, I can't help you at a certain point, because I don't know what your thought pattern is like in this space as a man, because I'm not trying to be a man. I can only know as a woman, if you say this is what you're feeling and this is only me, how I would like to see you show up, but the woman in your life may not. So we just have to make sure that we are giving that balance as needed. Let's see, we have a comment. Okay, 18 watches, 6 like. Please hit the like button, y'all. As Pastor Sheila says, it is free 99, and we do thank you. We hope you're enjoying this conversation. Trust me, it's almost 8:30. Y'all know we turn the corner. Something happens at 8:30, but we are winding it up. We are just getting started. But thank you, and please, sir, please, ma'am, hit that like button and subscribe and share. Bishop Claiborne had a question. I'm going to put it up, but I want Donald to come on and share. And when he's done, I'm going to ask the question. And then we're going to let Pastor Chris go. And then we're going to turn the corner after Pastor Chris goes, because this is a really good conversation as we are getting started in this whole concept of mama's boys and daddy's girls. But I have a question that I want to pose when it's time to turn. So come on, Donald.
So to Miss Anitra, I'd say this to you: your son is a genius, because him turning them men away the way he does is a setup. He thought that too.
Oh, I forgot who we was talking to. Now this one too much.
I completely applaud his genius and how he just made certain that his position and his standard was not to be misunderstood as little boy. So don't beat the boy. Take him out for ice cream, favorite game, whatever his preferences are. The boy should be rewarded. Send me his Cash App. I will definitely send him.
Oh Lord, if he on, he gonna put that cash out for you. I don't know if you want to do that.
Oh, and I'm surprised my sister did not even reference. Moving on. I wanted to step in so badly in that moment, but I said, you know what?
I would not.
I don't want the phone call that comes after this. So moving right along. But again, what's your son's name?
You're
What's your son's
pretty,
name?
you're pretty fair.
What's your son's name?
Anitra.
Can you see him?
He was saying,
Oh,
he's
yeah.
asking, what's your son's name?
His name is William, but we call him Jay. So he goes by Jay.
All right, Jay. Well, you told Jay I said power to the Wakanda forever and all that other stuff. So,
Okay.
because my sister, my mother, my sisters and my mother and my daughters all know how I am when it comes to that very subject.
Lord Jesus.
Yes, Lord Jesus is right. But in respect of the time, I will look for the platform that will allow me one day to share. But hey, here's the thing. Here are my thoughts. I'm gonna wrap my thoughts up as quick as I can. Certainly, I do agree that no boy is any boy that includes my nephew that postures himself to say he is the man in the house is strongly mistaken. Although again, Jay is a genius. Is strongly mistaken in believing that is his rite of passage. It is not. He has to remember that he is still a boy under his mother's leadership, under his mother's guidance, under the parental guidance. And that is something that I understand why a boy would posture himself that way, because men, the male gender makeup is to be an observer and a protector. So I think that what your son or what any son in this group conversation may be exercising in his manhood is just that. He's exercising being a defender based on his observation. I believe I heard, is it Dr. D, is it? I believe I've heard her say in regards to her son, I guess shunning away potential male visitors. I'm sorry if I'm not saying it right, but I think what your son or sons are.
So, Pastor Prophet, whichever one of those that fit in. No, it was more or less he was telling me the characteristics
Right.
of
Yeah.
him based on who I was. So yes.
Right. So he was being an observer and comparing your character with the characteristics of the male individual and saw where there was no match. So I want to encourage you ladies, and even my nephew, who I know is much like his uncle. We don't play that. We step out of turn, yes, and then we get checked quite quickly.
In heart.
In love, true.
No, I said in heart. You checked hard.
Hard, yes, extremely hard, depending on how far it goes. But again, it's just a quick share on that to say to you ladies and any ladies that are listening, and even to the fellas, hey, look, they mean well by what they do, even when they make that statement, because it is just them being protectors of their moms. That is in every male, or should be every male's makeup to defend your women. Period. I definitely want to say about how a child should be trained in order for him or her to go the way you expect. I'm starting off with that to say I defend the mama's boy statement as well as the daddy girl statement a little differently, because I am a mama's boy. I'm 2 of 4. My siblings have at times said to me as we were growing up, "Oh, mom, your mom's favorite," and I've used that quite a few times to
I'm her favorite.
flex some muscle. But I've been referred to also as a mama's boy, but I have never allowed myself to translate that thought into something negative or anything that implies feminist or female attributes. Certainly, those kind of phrases that are used quite often towards young men, quite a lot, is just ridiculous nonsense, mean-spirited words somebody has to use because their observation of how a mother and son or father and daughter, well, let's stick with the subject, the mother and son clinginess is going to turn that boy into a sissy. Certainly it should not, and certainly that should not be the the projection that most men are often saying to most single moms with absent or non-absent fathers who are raising these young men on their own. That's the son clinging to his mother, talking from my own personal clinginess to my mom, is just, that's who I'm closest to, I mean, we grew up with both our parents. I was more attached to my mother than I was my father. That didn't mean my father and I didn't get along. When I was attached to my father, it was when we were going fishing or fixing a car or doing something that interests me. But my mother was the better listener. My mother was the better encourager. My mother was the better teacher. She helped me to be more balanced. My father was just, like I am as a father to my son, with some adjustment. Just a little too aggressive at times, but meant well by what he did. And depending on the stage of growth I was in at the time that he was at the time, his behavior to me seemed to be aggressive. Look, every little boy knows that any parent that raises their hand or their voice, instantly goes into a defensive posture because they think you're being mean. When the child grows to the next stage, say in their teens, now they think that you're even being meaner. And my kids are famous for calling me mean, period, which I tell them I'm good with that. But through every phase that the child goes through, that parent is always going to be thought of as being mean. It doesn't change, whether you have adult kids or you have, little ones. That stays with them no matter what anybody can say. But on the subject of the daddy girl comment, that I'm not offended by, but I defend. I only defend it because keep in mind, in some cases, when a woman, especially, is the primary parent raising that child and doing the best that she can on her own with little or some engagement of the father, what other option does that what other option does that child have if the other parent is a constant missing element? So mama's boy, I ain't with that. That's such a negative reference period to ever use that. And in these days, and maybe not so much in these days, but it's because it's more plainer in these days that when boys that if a boy has an insecurity about himself, and this applies to girls too, when boys have insecurities about themselves, to the point where now in this day and age we got male, female, and then check the box for other, because and I'm trying to be polite in what I mean. Boys that are insecure about themselves, and that phrase gets put on them, can transition them to basically think differently about their gender and make adjustments based on those kind of comments. I think honestly, there needs to be a better way for people to understand why that son or why that male child is clingy to his mom. If there's a reason why that child is, either it's because and definitely one element is the missing parent. So that child has no choice but to become clingy to the woman. Now, in respect to the time still, I'm trying to keep this not too. When a woman is raising a child by herself, there are ways that I would suggest and encourage. If you are a single mom raising your son by yourself, all you're doing is coaching your child the best way you can. Try to find a male mentor that is trustworthy, perhaps a grandfather, an uncle of some sort. Try to involve that young man in male-orientated activities like sports and athletics. Be the kind of mom that like the share was about the football player's mother, who basically said, well, I'm going to handle his contract. I'm going to manage his career. Well, there's a reason why she stepped in and did that, and it wasn't and I don't think it should ever be thought about as, well, it's not a woman's place to go and set up a contract. I totally disagree with any thought that anyone had negatively about that lady taking a position to do something that was valuable to her son's career. That she should be commended, applauded, and an example, not spoken of negatively or thought of poorly because she took an initiative to do something.
Right.
And I don't know the background of the father, the judge, or be opinionated at all, but I'm just saying he obviously was not involved as much as he probably needed to be in his son's growth for her to take a position and said, well, no, let me handle this and let me give the yes or no. Hold that thought for a second because I'm wrapping my part up. That I definitely, again, chime in with the whole, well, a boy being clingy to his mother is considered to be a mama's boy, and he's going to grow up to be some kind of a freak, or gay or whatever, whatever the politically correct phrase is. No, a child being clingy to their parent is because it could be because, like in my case, my mom was the closest parent to me because my dad and I had a different dynamic than my mother and I. My dad taught me to cook. My mother taught me to cook. My mother taught me to sew. My father taught me to clean. My mother taught me things about women that I was so glad that growing up I was able to be educated by her and my two sisters. That allowed me to honestly feel like, okay, I understand a woman's perspective on things, and I did not allow myself to think negatively of me because of what other people's observations was about my relationship. And like I said, even my own siblings, I did not allow what they thought my relationship with my mother was, because when my siblings had a better relationship with my father than I did, believe me, I had observations and those same stereotypes towards them.
Right.
A boy being a mama's boy, it's on the cuff there, right? Because if the mother's training him the way he should go, then he's still in his manhood. She didn't train him differently than how she felt the man could go. So there's my share on that. I had a few other notes, but I'm respecting the time, and that's my share.
Well, thank you, Donald. You do make very good points. And yes, growing up, our dynamic, we did have both our parents in the home, so we were not raised in a single home. And by the time divorce hit our home, we were in our teenage years, so the core of who we were had already been established. But even in that, I would say the whole mama's boy dynamic, as my brother said, he considered himself to be, and we've all even labeled him, if you would, that way, because of his closeness to my mom. But that happened with both parents in the home. So it's possible, it's not just a single parent situation. It can happen with both parents in the home. It's just who that child gravitates to, and what those reasons are. And I think as long as you keep it a healthy, there's nothing wrong with being a mama's boy or a daddy's girl. It's just you have to keep the relationship in perspective and make sure that it is not diminishing their growth, or debilitating, causing that type of breakdown where they cannot coexist outside of that relationship and develop other healthy relationships within whom they are, with other people within whom they are. Again, a lot of people who have been called mama's boys struggle with relationships with women because it becomes a competition. But as long as everyone knows their place and their role, things will continue, things will smooth themselves out and move accordingly. Hey, Landon Price, welcome. So glad you could join. I hope you guys are enjoying this conversation. We're about to turn Pastor Chris loose, so you already know it's about to get hot up in here. Cheryl Green, welcome. Thank you so much for joining tonight. Also, again, guys, please like, subscribe, and share. Cheryl Green says it's the balance and boundaries that are established in the home. Absolutely. It has to be established within those relationships. I don't think, again, that there's anything wrong with being one or the other. But what I struggle with is the fact that we make it a negative for a boy to have that close relationship with his mom, but we celebrate or we will applaud a girl having that relationship with her father, when each one is just getting what it is that they need. Bishop Claiborne had a good question, and I want us to think about this too, so that, you know, as we wrap it up tonight, we can end on this question because I think it's important. He says, so the question is being a daddy's girl or a mama's boy all good or all bad, or what's the thin line? So I want our squad to think about that, because we're going to answer that before we end. Again, the bishop was asking, the question is being a daddy's girl or a mama's boy all good or all bad? What's the thin line? So I want you guys to think about that, because that's going to be our closing question of tonight. But I want to turn Pastor Chris loose, and thank you everyone for your shares so far. I hope you guys are enjoying the conversation, and I hope we're learning something. Again, we're opening up dialogue. We want to open up some different understanding so that we can think differently, we can relate differently, and we consider the words that we're saying, because words speak life or death. And we want to make sure we are speaking life, not just to our children, but to those who are raising them and to the relationships that are being formed. So come on, the experience and the encounter. I hope y'all tack your wigs down if they not, put your toupees on with extra glue, guys, because, here comes Pastor Chris. Come on, sir. What's your share on tonight?
Well, if I may, and in the distinguished words of Dr. N.D. Brown, the dichotomy of this topic has two narratives, and there's different generational gaps that we are speaking of here. We grew, most of us on this panel understand this concept, correct? We understand the village concept, right? Where we were raised in the village. We got our butts spanked in the village. We had Big Mama. We had Big Papa. We had cousins, aunts, and uncles all in the same neighborhood that kept the narrative straight. Now, we have this generational gap that we have right now. This is why this topic seems to be so going bananas, because we don't all grow up in two-family homes anymore. Some of us grew up in single-parent homes. I did. Now, I can definitely go in on this mama boy stuff because, again, my mama didn't raise me that way. And I can agree with Dr. ND in regards to being raised by a mama that's strong, held two jobs, had to take care of 3 kids, and had to do it all on her own before she got married. But by that time, I was already grown. I'm out the house, so I'm good. But anyway, my point is this. See, I want to bring this movie to our attention, and I think I shared this with you earlier this week. We all remember this movie called Baby Boy, right? I think it will close the generational gap here, right? Now, yeah, there you go. So we had a traditional Black cultured mama's boy in this movie, right? The mama met this man, correct? He wasn't all 6 figures and all this stuff that we speak in the churchdom stuff. Now I'm not disrespectful, but I was about to go there, being bald headed, over 6 feet tall, and got a little bit of something with you goes a long way with a little bit of gray. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. Anyway, what I was saying in this narrative, right? Now, the man that was dating Baby Boy's mama was very respectful. Now, see, here's where the other generation gonna get mad with this comment, right? And I'm not throwing shade on you at all, Ace. All I'm saying is that he tried, right? No. Hear me out. He tried to be very patient with this young man, right? Now, keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, baby boy was a grown behind man. Grown. Over 21, right? Can't keep a job. Always asking mama for everything. Using mama car. Burning her gas up. Ain't replacing the groceries. Nothing. All he doing is making a whole bunch of babies that he can't take care of. Uh-oh. All right. Let me bring this back. Okay. So there was a scene, and we probably gonna get a lot of comments on this one. We had a scene in the movie where Melvin was his name. This guy was being punked by baby boy, right? He did all he could to refrain. Yeah, he did all he could to refrain from knocking the block off him. Now, I agree with Melvin. If you grown and you won't come at me and I'm doing the job that your mom been asking you to do and some, you can't even do the basics, and you want to step at me, and I'm a grown man, and I'm doing mine, and you can't even take out the garbage, let alone fill up a tank of gas, or let alone fill up groceries or that you eat up all day, every day after you with your other baby mamas, and you come to mama? No. So where does the line draw? I said all this to say this, right? A real man's not going to take that. I'm sorry, ladies. I don't care if he's a man of God. I don't care if he's just a regular Negro that you met on Wall Street. I don't care. He's not going to take it. Now, if it's a young man growing up, that's a different narrative. But I'm bringing this all home here. I put all these narratives in this conversation to say this. Now, a grown man has to understand that there are limits. Yes. My mom raised me to be a man when I was in diapers. Let me bring a case in point here. When I fell, yes, I understand. Yeah, men don't cry, all that stuff. I get it. But we have to understand that if you're being raised by a single mom and she is holding it down, she can't teach me how to be a man. So that's what she knows. Now, she was blessed enough to know men that were presented to me as I grew up in age and stature, how to do certain manly things. I didn't play with Barbies. I didn't do all that stuff. I didn't do that because my mom didn't have no time for that. She said, I'm gonna raise you to be a man. You're gonna know how to cook for yourself, clean for yourself, iron for yourself. You're gonna keep a job at 13 until you graduate high school. If you want them high dollar sneakers, you're gonna pay me half for it. If you want all the new game systems and games, you're gonna pay me half for it, so forth and so on. So all I'm saying is this, right? We have this thing called privilege in the new generation. These kids think they are old. And I'm sorry if the young generation, or I call them new school, if they listening, they going to get mad, but that's okay. You are not privileged to get nothing. Our responsibility as a parent, as my old school told me, Big Mama told me, and Big Papa told me, our jobs as parents is to give you a roof over your head, clothes on your back, food on your table. Period. We're not going to give you the new iPhone 15 Pro Max. We're not going to give you the iPad Air Max and all this nonsense that these kids think they deserve, and they failing in school. Negative, not from this guy. But anyway, I'm going to go shift it to the ladies because I have a little girl. Now, I don't know nothing about little girls, right? I had all boys. So what I did was basically put on boxing gloves, we threw down, and that's just how we did it. That's how I did it with them. And then we played games and all that stuff. That's the male dynamic. So this little girl, for me, is a big test. That's why I am so open when women are giving advice on little girls. Because yes, my little girl is spoiled. I spoil her. Yes, I do. She is my princess. Yes. But the one thing that she knows, that if she don't earn it, daddy ain't getting it for her. And she's 7. And she'll tell you, well, daddy's not going to get it for me because I didn't get good grades in school. Or daddy's not going to get it for me because I didn't do my chores. So you got to start when they're young. Now, I'm not saying you have to treat a young lady to be a lady, right? You not be a lady, but you know what I mean. Just to give her that, wow, I want my male that I meet when I grow up, I want him to at least mimic my dad. I don't want him to look like my dad because that's a little weird, but I want him to mimic the traits that my father had. That's where the father and daughter's love is like this. Because of the fact that that father and that daughter have a bond that's not about spoiling her, but preparing her for her next. I'm about to preach on that, but that's a whole nother subject. But all I'm saying is, and I'm trying to throw this all in because we got a lot to cover and we ain't got that much time. So pretty much with that part, I'm still learning. So I can't sit here and say I'm not. For some people, they say, oh, you're treating your little girl and you spoiling her, but I'm giving her core values. But at the same time, when it comes to my sons, it's a whole different ball game when it comes to the same sex. Now, again, I'm in no position and I am not perfect by no means. There's a lot of mistakes I made in my adult life when it came to my kids. But at the end of the day, it's about learning and becoming better at who you are. We can have this whole conversation back and forth all night long. We can have ND and myself go back and forth on intellectual prowesses and big words and lexicons and Greek and Hebrew text. We can go all night. I'm just saying. Let me stop. Anyway, I'm picking a fight. But anyway, it's after 8:30, so I can do it. Anyway, so ladies and gentlemen, but ultimately, what Ace said, it's about balance, and one of our viewers, they said the same thing. It's about balance. You can't teach a female how to be a female without the mother if you had that dichotomy of the relationship of divorce. I can't teach my daughter to be a woman. So we have to bring balance. Regardless of how you feel about me, boo-boo, we got a daughter to raise, and vice versa. So if it's a son, it's the same thing. Sometimes we need to get over our personal feelings towards each other as the parents and raise our sons and our daughters like we should. And we wouldn't be having this conversation for the last 2 hours arguing about who's a baby mama, who's a baby boy and daddy girl and all this other nonsense, because we ought to be a team about this thing. But of course, again, with the way things have gone, a lot of sisters had to do it all by themselves. And I salute them because my mom raised me and she did just fine. So I'm just saying. So there's no excuse with this other stuff that's going on, but I'm not going to bring that up either. I got an answer to that question that Bishop has, but I'm not going to go further. I'm done with my comment. So let's get it. I'm ready. It's after 8:30.
Let's get it. Let's get it. Because you said
Yes.
you said some stuff. No, I'm not mad at you, but you said some things that I had to pause and I had to write it so I can remember it. When you said like dad, we got to remember, because one of the things that I think, and you said something that was key, that was about the generation. I'm not even sure it's even a generation anymore. I think it's become a cultural thing. I think because we now have a big dichotomy, since you want to use big words tonight, of cultural disparities, where we have cultures, we have a lot of interracial relationships, we have different religions coming together. So we live in a time and place where the values that may have been instilled to us based on our cultural setting and the timing in which, where we come from a Black family where we knew that our mother may have been the strong one, but daddy wasn't far, but daddy was still a gentleman. No, he laid his hat in many homes. You know that song, Daddy was a Rolling Stone, wherever he laid his hat was his home. But when he died, all he left Okay, so we know the song. We know the song. So I'm saying that we have to remember, and I have to say, I love my father. My father is my father is my father, but I definitely was not looking for someone to be like my dad. I needed something different from that because though my father is he's my hero, there was some characteristics that my father displayed that as I grew up as a woman, I did not want in the man for myself. So I think that we need to, when we say like girls are looking for dads, we also live in a culture where dads are absent, but the dad that's absent from their fault from their child is helping raise another woman's kids. So we gotta, there's some things that are happening here that when we have this question and this dialogue about mama's boys and daddy's girls, we got to really understand that this goes so many different ways because of the time and space that we're living in right now. That may not be applicable across the board. Like my mother was a strong Black woman, but I didn't want to be her. I didn't want to emulate what she did to me because I had the fear of God from my mother, but there was things I did not want from my kids. I was scared to tell my mother I was grown and pregnant. I told my mother I was pregnant over the phone in another borough. Okay? And I was grown when I told her that. I didn't want that fear, but I wanted respect. And then the other thing that you said was to train up a girl. But so here we have a society where we don't even know who's the child and who's the parent anymore, because we have now placed our kids on the same spectrum with us, that they gotta dress like us, they gotta look like us. I see the cutest little baby with little tight on and the hand purse and the tilt in the side, and I'm just like, when does the baby enjoy being a baby and just figure out what it is to just be able to get a meal? And the mother is so busy trying to compare her to herself and her to look like that. And the same thing with the boys. Like, when does he get a chance to be a boy? You got him dressed up like he a thug or somebody in the rap, and we're looking at these symbols as what it is that we're supposed to be emulating about. And in regards to the question, and then I'm done for the night, guys. I'm being good tonight. In regards to the question, when you brought up
Not be bad.
When you brought up that movie Jody from Baby Boy, because I actually dated a guy named Jody, so that's how I know the name. Okay, but that's another story. I think that movie is a depiction of when the culture and the social economic change shifted. Because when we look at Baby Boy, he had a strong Black mother, but she also wasn't weak in her stance. It wasn't until she had someone that came behind her that understood her strength, but saw her sexuality and her vulnerability as a woman. I feel you, Jesus. That allowed her, I'm telling you, I feel the Holy Ghost on this one. That allowed her to still stay in her femininity while she stood her ground as a Black woman in the South Central of California, raising a Black boy who had lost his sense of mind in a time where he thought that being who he was all it was. But she clearly didn't raise him to be that way. And then you have a Black man who's telling them that in the society he's an ex-con and he would never amount to anything. A woman who had her own home, who raised her son, that took in somebody who came out of jail, that valued him as a man and didn't hold him from where he came from, was prepared to help him get someplace else better than what he was, and pushed his dream and vision and let him be the man without letting him feel less than a man, because she checked the son that she gave birth to. I'm saying I'm done for the day. All right, amen.
More.
Thank you for that, ND. And of course, I want to pause right there because ain't nothing else I can't add nothing, can't take nothing away. You just have to have a Selah moment and let that rest. Grab some nuggets if you can. I'm going to read these good comments in here because we want to make sure that we are letting our people know that we are listening to you. We hope that you are enjoying this conversation. Please like, subscribe, and share. The point is we want to, again, this opens up dialogue, and the dialogue creates great conversation so that we can start to build and rebuild relationships in better ways than they were before, because we have to make a change, or otherwise we will never get to where we all need to be. So Donald said it's all in the parenting skills. Train the child the way they should go, and they would not depart. You might depart, you might get off track, but you'll be back. Let's see, Donald also says we are hopeful as our parents were hopeful that we give our children instructions. Women raising boys in a single home environment, men who do the same are applying themselves the best way they know. Amen. And I don't want it, one thing that I think we have to learn how to do, we've been pitted against each other for so long that every time you bring up a perspective, women are sharing from their perspective, and we're sharing it because we are looking to be in relationship with men, that men then become defensive and say, and this works both ways. I don't want anybody to get defensive, but, and men, you know, and women, and it's vice versa. And men will come back and say, yeah, but, you know, men were in the same situation. You know, men are doing the same. It's the same thing. And we want to say, in all fairness, we are not coming on here to pick sides at one another. We are coming to join sides together, saying, again, we understand, excuse me, that's why I said mama's boys and daddy's girls, because there are a lot of men who are out here, single fathers who are raising daughters and sons on their own that we don't hear about. Sometimes the numbers could possibly be higher because, and we don't know about it because men do not speak up as much as women do. Men will not go out and create these united forces, so to speak, because in a sense, society does not make it a respectful place for them to do so, you know, because of the expectations on our men today. They're expected to have everything together and everything in place. So a man going to ask for help is not as welcomed as a female. So I just want to, in all fairness, say when we are having these conversations, it is not to further the gap between men and women. It is for us to have the conversation so that we can bridge the gap and pull it together so we're all on the same road, and say that we understand that men are going through the same thing that women are. Maybe not in the same numbers. We don't know because men don't speak up. But men, I encourage you to start speaking up so that things can change, so that women, we can become more sensitive to the support that you may need as we are able to provide it, and vice versa. We got to learn to work together. That's what it comes down to. Women, you might meet a man who's in your very situation, but because we're angry about being in our situation, we take it out on him. We cannot discount each other's journey. So I just wanted to say that as Donald was sharing his comment, yep, men do the same and are applying themselves in the same way. So salute to you men who are in that same situation, raising your kids for whatever the reason on your own, and present dads who are present in the lives of their children who may be being raised by the other parent. Landon Price says, Public Enemy Grid. Train them right, and we will not have to worry. This came out in 2020. Pastor Chris said, babies having babies. And this was all also into relation to what ND and Pastor Chris was sharing. Cheryl Green says, what about raising them according to God, according to their purpose versus girl or boy? Amen, Cheryl. And that is a great perspective and a great point. I do again want to say we have to keep in mind, we try to keep it even keeled and fair across the board, wherever your moral compass is. For us, because most of us are believers, we are Christian and we serve God. We want to be inclusive and respectful of everyone's moral compass, whatever that may be. So we say, what about raising them according to the moral compass of your life? And Cheryl says of God, and we respect that. To the purpose versus girl or boy. That is very key. We have to, some of us, okay. I had to pause there for a
You're
second.
trying to be politically correct. You know, I see you. I see you over there struggling.
Because you know we don't want to. I don't want to diminish what anybody believes,
Right.
because I know what I stand on, what I believe, and I respect whatever your choice is. But I will say this: for those of us who are believers, and Cheryl brings up a good point, because again, this is where we start bolding the defined lines between male and female, starting even at these young ages in us raising our children. I will say this: I believe the struggle in a lot of us raising our children according to their purpose versus their gender is because a lot of us are struggling to find our purpose. So we can't take our children somewhere we have not gone and somewhere we're not willing to go, no matter what your moral compass is. Find your purpose, and then you can help navigate your children in finding their purpose and teaching them accordingly, so that they can get the training to become all that they need to be and show up differently. So that's my share in response to that. I see you, Donald. I just want to get through the last few comments, and then I want to let y'all share. I didn't forget you, because I just want to make sure to get to everybody's perspective, because I want to make sure that we all have time to answer Bishop Claiborne's question, because I think that was still so very important and key. And it was something Dr. ND said that it's going to come back to me about the movie Baby Boy. Anitra says we're here to support one another. Amen. Absolutely. That's what we're supposed to do. We're here to do that, and we have to do a better job at doing that. We have to start taking our personal anger out of how we show up, especially when it comes to our children, because I often say, and this is just from the female perspective, I say wounded women end up teaching younger women how to be wounded before they even have a chance to just learn how to love freely. But when we're wounded, we end up teaching from the wounded place instead of the healed place. So we're already putting our children on defense, and we should not be. Donald said that he agreed with Cheryl, and Lady Michelle says, whoop, whoop. And those are the comments for now. I want to go back to, I think, Donald, you wanted to share something, and then I do want us to get into Bishop Claiborne's question as we begin to wrap up for tonight, because we can never get it all in one night. But the point is, we are opening up conversation and opening up free safe space to dialogue about these things, so that we can start tearing down some of these narratives that have been put up, so that we will not be at odds with each other, but we can come back into a space of being support and building together. So come on, Donald, you want to quickly share what you wanted to say, and you can even answer this question. You can piggyback it on. So if we could all take maybe like 3 minutes to answer.
So I'll just go and answer the question by Mr. Claiborne. That question being, is being a daddy's girl or mama's boy all good, or I guess all bad? What's the thin line? I said it earlier. I don't see from my personal experience on what the negative is about about it being a mama's boy or daddy's girl, if the loving parent is taking on the role and accountability of making certain that their child is coming up the way they want the child to come up, coming up in the way that they are doing the best they can to raise the child in the way to which they should go, so they wouldn't forget where they come from. That could be morally or biblically. Either way works the same way. A parent, period, is raising the child the best way they know how. A parent, period, is raising the child to protect that child from what the outside family dynamic is going to teach them. Because when you're children, no matter what the ages are, from the little ones to the big ones, They go out in the world the same way we as parents go out in the world. Guess what? They're gonna see things and engage things and know and they're gonna see and engage things that we're not gonna be able to be there to protect them. So we have to train them the best way we know how. We have to educate them. We have to edify them. I know I have adult children, but and even though they're adults, they're still my children. I still train and engage them on whatever their challenge is. So, Mr. Claiborne, my answer to your question is, it depends, because if the parental home element is guiding the lifestyle of the child to be good, regardless as to what the hardship is, that child can turn out great, but it can also become bad depending on, again, that same element. It is up to the parent, whether you use that movie as an analogy or just life itself. Is it good or bad to be I'm sorry, is it good or bad to be a daddy's girl or a mama's boy? I would say, look, I turned out great. I think I said earlier in the comment, I went from a mama's boy to a ladies' man. That's what I'm just saying. I'm just being funny by saying
Yeah, you did.
but I did. My sister knows. But it's all about, it's really all in the individual parenting skill, home environment. Applauds to the parents, whether they're the male or the female, or the female or the male. Applauds to the parents who are doing the best they can under challenging circumstances, missing elements, hardships, etc. Respect to everyone who just does what they have to do to raise their child the right way to go.
All right. Thank you so much, brother. 204, amazing share, and thank you for putting your input about this last question. Come on, Anitra, give us your final comments and your response to this question.
Wow, it's been a great topic, and I definitely agree with the raising them according to purpose. Of course, I'm like you, I'm a God's girl, but I do believe in this culture and this time that we're in, we do have to be specific on teaching our children as far as male and female, because that's how God created us. And I know that's not, for everybody, but in this culture, I think it's important that we do include that, because it is something that's being how do I say it, politically correct, being redefined. It's being redefined.
Good choice.
Okay. Had to pull it out. Redefined. So as far as it goes to Bishop Claiborne's question, again, I'm gonna go back to the balance. I don't think it's bad or good. Okay, I don't think it's bad. I think depending on what the definition is for each person, it's absolutely fine. I think that I have seen young men and young women both that are loved dearly by their parents, and then sometimes they'll say, "Hey, I'm a daddy's girl," and then it's taken to the extreme, and then I've seen it on the other side. So I think what we need to do is find that common balance for our children when we're talking about how we want to raise them and how we want to, and understanding that they're going to be somebody else's spouse. So what does that look like? They're going to be, and then also thinking, we don't ever even think this far, they're going to be somebody's parent more than likely one day, your grandkids. So what does that look like when we send them out? Do we want them, what type of human at the end of the day do we want out there in society? Do we want a mama's boy that can't do anything without his mama? Sometimes you can't do anything, and then you can't really hold a decent relationship because your mother is always in the way, and that's a problem for some women
Right.
that do that, like you said, that we stand in the way of our boys maturing. Because of course, all the dynamics that have been discussed tonight, the fact that sometimes because we're bitter and we want to hold on to our sons because that place in us is missing. Same thing with the young ladies. The fathers can be overbearing. They don't want nobody to have their little girl. And a lot of times you see one thing that I would tell my son all the time when he was dating, do you want the mother of your child to be out here doing things so you don't be out here doing all the extra stuff? You want to be the same type of person, the woman that you want to marry, you want to show your children when you have children. I think it's just important that we look at our own character and then understand, what do you really want your child to be like when they go out there? I want mine to be productive citizens. I always tell them that you need to be a productive citizen where you're not a menace to society. See, I threw that movie in there.
Right.
It's another movie clip.
There you go.
But just want them to be productive citizens, but also want them to have healthy relationships. I want to have a healthy relationship with my children, past being just my children, but growing into adulthood and being friends. Always remember, I am your mama, though. Okay.
Right.
But always being that now I fall in the back of their life. I am not in the front as they progress and they mature and have their own healthy relationships, because I want my son to take care of whoever daughter he has. I want him to really take care of her like a man. I want a man to take care of me and love me. And then I want my children to be able to love their husband, my girls, a husband, how I would want to love my husband. So that was always vital and key in my thought. And that's it. So I think it's not a bad thing or a good thing. I just think there is a thin line, and we have to always be cognitive. Is that a word? Of that line. That was for Pastor Chris.
That is
but yeah, always, that thin line can be easily crossed. So we have to always be mindful of that when we're making decisions and when we're talking to our kids, especially as they move into from childhood to adulthood. And that's my share.
Thank you so much, my kin. Yes, making sure we are cognizant. I hope y'all are grabbing these final gems and nuggets. Come on, King of Laughter, Von Eric. Come on and share with us on tonight.
Man, there was some wisdom going on today, man. Wow. Great answers and comments. Much love and respect to all. I believe that as far as this, what I do, I stand on the word of God when it comes to raising my son. I had my son late in my age at 45, my only son. But I was blessed to see my friends, my brothers and sisters who had children early, like, you know, people on the panel and in the comments. So I was blessed, and I picked up things that I've seen them go through, their ups and downs and their trial and tribulations. But one thing I stand on when it comes to the word of God is likeness. God made Adam and Eve in his likeness. Adam's kids and Eve's kids was made in their likeness. So when my son came into this world, I knew my likeness within me came from my mother's mother, and my father's father, and their parents. So I knew those likenesses would be in me and the likeness that I picked up throughout my life. So I also, his baby mother, I also talked to her. How was you in school? How was you raised? What was your ups and downs? What was your father's ups and downs? What was your mother's ups and downs? I asked them these questions because I know their likeness is going to be in my son. So as my son grows and keep going, I look for those likeness in him. I may see him, I may see me, or I may see my father, or I may see my mother, or I may see his mother and his mother's mother. So when I see that and we talk and go out through life, I act accordingly. And I always use different actions that I read in the word of God to apply with him. I always, just like my mom planted seeds in me and God watered it and it flourished within me. And every action that she brought to me, I've seen and I act accordingly. My father was a pastor. He taught me spiritual things. And when he was in church and things, how he was raised back in the day, because he was an older gentleman, and how he was raised, I took those likeness and what he brought up and what he applied in his life. And I also applied and taught my son, or applied when I see actions that my son is doing. So I know I plant seeds and I just pray each and every day that God water those seeds so it can flourish in him, that he can see things and understand. And then he is able to act accordingly, just like I did, because he's going to see different likeness. He's going to pick up likeness from other children. When he's in school, he's going to pick up likeness from the teacher and other children. So I always make sure I communicate with my son back and forth, that he can be raised, and just like the Miss Lady Anita said, to be a productive gentleman in a society that we live in. Now I know I see different kids throughout my life, and some of those kids looked upon and they raised their children because they mad because they was mad at their mother or their father. So they swore, I'm not going to raise my son like that. And some of the things that your mom and your dad was hard on you, they take a grudge and won't apply it. And then their son end up, or their child end up doing the same thing they did as they did to their parents. I think some people do not have the entire understanding when it comes to parenting. And the reason is because they don't take the time to listen and understand, why did my mother do this? Why did my father do this? What did my father go through? Let me put myself in my father's shoes or my mother's shoes so I can get a full understanding. So when I can apply it, I can apply it when I see the action that my son or my daughter do. Now, I may not apply it the same way as my parent. I may switch it up, season it a little bit, and then apply it. Because we must know the action and know your child and what he's presenting to you, and then you act accordingly. Now, to the question to Mike Claiborne, as far as is it bad or is it good, I must go like what the brother Donald was saying. It depends. Depends on your understanding. Sister said about balance. What's your interpretation of balance? This all depends on how you was raised and your understanding, because my bad could be your good, or your good could be my bad. It depends who's making that judgment.
Right.
And I think when you get the full understanding, and sometimes we apply and we allow our emotions to cloud our judgment, and we apply things when it was not needed. And I think once you get a hold of that, then act accordingly, be humble, love. When it starts with God, if you love God with all your might and all your soul, and you know God is in your child, then you know how to raise your child.
Thank you so much, Vaughn, for your share and your answer to this question. Again, I hope y'all are grabbing some good nuggets on tonight as we are wrapping this up and coming to the end of another great conversation. Again, we can never get it all in one night. But what we want to do, if nothing else, is have real conversation with real resolutions, and begin by at least cracking these conversations open. So come on, Dr. ND, if you are there and available, come on and give us your closing comments and your response to Bishop Claiborne's question, please. And thank you, sis.
I kind of thought I already spoke to Bishop Claiborne, but
okay, you did. Okay, so I just want to make sure everybody has space to share their final thoughts. So you take your 3 minutes.
Yeah.
You had enough?
I think you had enough of me tonight, but I'll say this. I think, and I'm gonna, you know me, I always speak from a different perspective. I'm gonna speak on both sides of the spectrum while I speak at the same time. I think that collectively, we need to identify where we are and realize that there's some people will never get it, saved and unsaved.
Right.
We also need to heal, because we are a culture who has been persecuted since slavery. And no matter how far we have come, oh God, I feel you today. No matter how far we've come, it doesn't matter what seat we sit in. We sat in the highest seat that can be held, and that is the President of the United States. And if we didn't see anything in the 8 years that we had a Black president, we are still hurt. We are still traumatized. We are still wounded. We are still being beaten. And even in those 8 years, there were still things that happened. And there has never been an opportunity for us to heal. So when we talk about mommy's boys and daddy's girls, I think that it is a perpetual cycle that is going on where we will never be able to address really what it looks like, identify it, celebrate it, opposed to cursing it, because we are fearful that some of us don't want our children to become what we never became. So therefore, we won't give them what they need to be better. We will put them in a place for them to be okay and standard, and then wonder why they are angry as they grow up in adulthood when they look at a culture that is telling them that they can never be and won't be, because they come from a house that tells them that this is all they will ever be. I think that we also have to realize that until we get to a point where we're ready to start dealing with some of our stuff in the past, we will never be able to separate or celebrate being a mama's boy, being a daddy's girl, because some of us don't know what it looks like, saved and unsaved, because we get saved and get forgetful, and then we never become saved and don't want to know. So we have to figure out which side of the spectrum we want to sit at, and what table we want to be a part of. And until we get there, we are going to keep having conversations like this, because people don't want to face the truth. And the truth is, you can never be something you're not prepared to do the work to become.
Amen. Amen. And we gonna leave it right there.
Amen.
Come on, there's nothing else to say behind that.
She preached 2 sermons today. 2 sermons.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Come
on, Pastor Chris, give us your final comments and your response to this question.
What am I gonna say after that? I'm just saying. I mean, but if you want me to, oh boy, my mic is going off and on. See, she short circuit my mic. See, now my mic all shorted out.
We can hear you. We can hear you though.
Oh, you can hear.
I can hear you now.
We can't. What's happening? I can't hear you. Come on with the thunder. I'm listening to the thunder. Come on. There's a system here. Don't break the monotony. What's happening? We will put the mic in the name of Jesus.
Look at God. Look at God.
Oh my! Oh, Pastor Chris, why are you doing it like this?
Yeah, we really can't hear you. But while we're waiting for him to take it,
Won't he do it?
Okay,
you go.
Come on,
So we can hear you now.
Well, see, I ain't go. Okay, you know what?
We can hear you now. So go ahead. Well, we can hear you.
Come on, speak up.
Okay.
Mic check.
Because my mic keep going in and out. So
Let him speak while his mic is working.
Yeah, okay. Because it's not working. All right, let me see. All right.
Okay. We can hear you.
Oh, you can hear me. Okay.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Let you speak while we can hear you.
Oh, okay. Well, good. I'm gonna try to get it in for this thing dies again. All right. So yeah, I can't go behind ND. I already used all my big words for the night, so it's over. Can't do it. But what I am gonna say, that she is right when it comes to the church and when it comes to the natural space. We do have a lot of learning to do on both perspectives. We have to be adult with ours as parents. We have to, whether we have flaws or not, whether we've reached the next pinnacle in God or not, we still have to be true to who we are. And until we conquer that, we will never be able to have these questions answered. And again, I have to agree with ND. We will continue to have these forums for the next 10, 20, 30 years because we can't be, like they say in the street, you can't be real with yours, right? So we have a lot of different things that make sense in the natural space, but we don't even use it because of the fact that we can't be 100. We can't keep it real in the church. We can't keep it real in the natural space. We can't even keep it real with each other sometimes. So when is the madness gonna stop? And that's all I'm going to say. It's not going to get better. Yes, I understand. I understand biblical principles. I get it. But when your child reaches a certain age, you can only do but so much as a parent. You can put the seeds in them. You can take them to church. You can take them to Bible study. You can take them to youth conferences. You can take them to all these things. But the fact of the matter is, we all been there. When we went to college, guess what? I wasn't thinking about going to church. I was thinking about going to the frat party. I'm just going to be real. And that's the reality of it. But let's keep it real. Things that we are taught from our parents, as we grow up, it does come back. And like ND said, she want to tell her mama. I don't want to tell my mama either when I had my firstborn. But it is what it is. But that's what they built in us in that generation. But again, that's a whole nother conversation. I'm going to end it there. I hope y'all heard some of it because, again, my mic's short-circuiting. So I love y'all. God bless you. Do what you got to do. And, of course, it's your boy, the Psalmist Voice. I'm done. For real. Okay, Donald, I'm done for real. There you go. Bye-bye.
I don't know why you call my name out, but thank you for the recognition.
Thank you, Pastor Chris, for sharing. And I want to pause to thank Lady Anisha, the Ace Perspective, for another super chat on tonight. We appreciate it so very much. You guys can support, and so if you want to call it that, support into this great network to keep us going by supporting. We are so glad that we have the opportunity for super chats. So we do appreciate you so very much for supporting us in that way. I want to thank everyone on tonight. My brother 204, Minister Donald, Minister Anitra, Lady Makin, okay, the Vaughn Eric, blessings, where is your faith? I want to thank Dr. ND and to Pastor Chris, aka the Psalmist Voice, who, yes, we heard every word that you said. Thank you so much, you guys, for you coming to the platform and always sharing from your wells of life, for being open, honest, and transparent, for helping us navigate through these conversations, again, to just break open different perspectives so that we can help somebody else to help someone else. I truly appreciate you all. I wish I could pay you so much, but I can't. But that's all right. One day God will allow me to. And thank you, Dr. ND. All right, the super chats are coming in.
No.
Again. Thank you, Dr. ND, for the super chat.
No.
We appreciate.
ND, you know what the church folks say, right?
Can I finish my comments though?
I know.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Can I finish?
So it isn't just me, huh?
What are we doing here? Can I finish? When ladies on B, last time I checked in the box. Well, now let me get back to thanking my people. Right.
Train the child in the way it should.
Okay. So, thank you, Dr. ND, so very much for your super chat. We so appreciate you here on the Brother with Sheila Network on Thursday nights with me, your girl, Lady Dawn B. I appreciate it. Thank you for supporting this network. And we ask all of you, we appreciate, we're so glad that you are here to support us, not just in numbers, but this type of support also helps us to grow and to continue pushing our way through to make sure that conversations like these continue to get out. Now, Pastor Chris, you want to share something? Yes?
No, forget it now. No, forget it. No, because
Don't be emotional. Don't do that.
No. I'm not. You don't. See, I can't even say that. I can't even say what I want to say on the air. Okay. Here was the sidebar joke. Now what I was gonna say, ND, Now you know the type of circles that we dwell in, 199 just won't do.
I know
I'm just
that.
saying.
I know. Come on, sing the song. Come on, let's take the step.
Yes. I
99
want to go there with you,
won't do.
but yeah, I was about to go there with
no.
you, but that's a whole nother show.
I got
so
you.
I'm
Don't
gonna leave
worry.
You
that.
see the ladies supporting.
That was the
You see
inside
ladies
joke.
supporting.
Okay, there you go. Anyway, I'm gonna leave it alone. Good night, y'all. I love
But the
you.
ladies are supporting.
Can you say all the millions that's coming?
What's that? Pastor Chris showed his mama side. His mama
He
boy.
did. Don't be calling me out about my 199, son.
It's an investment. It's a down payment. Leave her alone.
Right, I'm
Thank
saying.
you.
She doing it in installments. Spread it out. Spread it out.
The two
A
ladies, the two
million, let me
ladies in
tell you
support.
something about a millionaire. A millionaire never tips their hat, not public.
That's right. Amen to that.
Well, there.
Amen.
It's definitely after 8:30.
I like her. I like
Is there
her.
silence in the room? Let me say it loud for the people in the back seat. A true millionaire never tips their hat in public.
I don't think they
And-
heard
and
you
there-
at the other church. Say it again.
They say, a true millionaire never tips their hat in public.
Nah.
I ain't never supposed to let the world know what my pockets look like. Never. I ain't got my see.
What in the world?
Yeah, that's
All
baby.
right.
Lord, I'm
Well, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's baby boy mother right there. That's baby boy. That's
Stuff-
baby boy
Stuff
girl.
is
Right
starting to happen now. Okay, I know it's after 8:30 now because life is starting to happen. This is the time that usually happens at 8:30. But anyway, y'all, I want to say thank you so much, everyone, for your support and for your presence. Pastor Chris is doing sign language. I think he's trying to say he can't hear us when he can't hear us, but that's all right. So in closing on tonight, I want to invite you all to join us back here next week. Actually, I'm going backwards is what I'm doing. I'm so sorry. In my final thoughts, in closing, I just want to again thank everyone for this conversation. Thank you that we are breaking down, again, barriers and thoughts to open up communication. You can't hear me? Okay. Anyway, I want to say in regards to Bishop Claiborne's question, there are no absolutes. There are no all one thing or all of another. So it is not all bad. There's pros and cons to being a mama's boy and a daddy's girl. I would just say we need to, again, respect the boundaries, set up good balance so that we are raising our children to understand when it's time to let go and move forward. We need to raise them to, most importantly, whether you're a mama's boy or a daddy's girl, we have to raise them to show respect, to grow, and to go. We have to make sure that we are raising them in a way that they know how to show respect, know how to grow, and know when it's time for them to go. As long as it is not, the relationship is not being debilitating to their maturing, I say do what is best for you, for your family, for your children, and just make sure you're doing it in love. So again, thank you everyone on tonight. I just want to say that, it takes the few to open the door and lead the way for the many. So I thank you guys for being the few. Something always happens in the ladies' room versus the men's lounge when it comes time. Something always happens, and we're glad that you are here to experience it with us. So now I can say, please join us next week, next Thursday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on the Bravo with Sheila Network. As our topic, we'll be going back to our Redeeming Me series, and we're going to be talking about it being time to transform. So I hope you will tune in for this great conversation. Make sure you're tuning in on Monday nights to Beyond the Mic with my sisters, Coach Pache and Dr. Elaine. And again, thank you everyone for an amazing night. Want to say God bless you. Good night, and we will see you next week. Squad, hang out one moment. Go ahead, Pastor Chris.
I just want to say we're going out. I love the hair, ladies. Let's go.
Wow.
Why, Black Jesus? Why? Black Jesus, why?
That is our Pastor Chris. He is ours and he belongs to us. Thank you, everyone. Cheryl Green says, great discussion. Bishop Claiborne says, I'm on the next one. That's right, Bishop. You better make sure that you are room for you. Make sure you guys are liking, subscribing, and sharing. It's time for the bishop is coming back. The bishop is coming back. He will be back with us.
If Bishop Claiborne and Pastor Linwood and myself, plus the brothers that are on this panel or is on the next verses, y'all might as well hang it up. I'm just saying.
Hang it up. Hang it up. Like you trying to hook us? Don't do that, son.
And we're not. And we're here for it. And we're ready.
Hey. For the record, he's not representing me, so y'all don't have to push that energy in my direction. I'm good.
What in the? You're supposed to be with the men. You know what?
I'll let you ladies know when I got the beat.
You know what?
I'm going to
to further notice. To further notice.
Go ahead.
Suspension.
Get the pastor, get the bishop. Okay.
Come on, pull it all out. Just go ahead, get what you gotta get. Cause no matter what you do, as long as we on the side of Black Jesus, it's no telling.
And we are.
No, I'm just saying.
Wait, hold up. I see a lot. Wait a minute, hold up. You know what? We just gonna wait. Let's just wait till next time.
This is why the versus show.
Every time he say that, every time he talks about he gonna bring it, the only thing that's consistent in showing is him. Where's the rest of your crew, bro?
You need to talk to them.
No. Hold up now.
Von Erich is new and he came last minute. So that tells you something. But anyway, if I replace him, I will. Now me stop. I love you.
Hold up now. Now I'm gonna be.
No, not you, Von Erich. You're out of this conversation. You
know. Okay. Yeah, if I'm out. Okay.
Yeah.
Good night, everyone.
Somebody pass around the offering. Since I'm always preaching on track.